Hi, I'm Alise Chaffins, and I'm here today with Corey Sherman, writer and director of the film Big Boys, now available on video on demand. Thank you so much for talking with me today, Corey. I appreciate it.
Oh yeah, thanks for having me.
So, one of the first things that popped into my head when I was watching this movie was wholesome. That was kind of like the main word that yeah, worked for me. So, does that
Yeah.
characterization bother you as a filmmaker, or is that kind of the vibe you were going for?
It's so funny you ask that because I was literally just thinking about that today. I actually really like it. I like something that I think it just gets at what I was hoping the movie would have, which is like a sense of, I guess, like decency and humanity and like compassion for all of the characters. And in something that, hopefully like leaves the audience feeling good by the end of it and life affirming. And so, yeah, I'm totally comfortable with it.
Oh, good. Yeah, because I love that, especially I think at a time when there are so many attacks against the LGBTQ community, happening from many different sides. It's really nice to be able to say, no, here's this beautiful coming out story that is, yeah, like in my mind, just so wholesome. I loved that about it.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I think one of the reasons that was part of it for me was because of Jamie's fantasies. So
Yeah.
in them, anytime he has one, he sees himself as an older person and everything is super benign. It's not graphic. It's just somebody getting a shoulder rub or sitting and watching a sunset
Right, right,
together.
right.
Yeah. And I love that. So can you talk about just the decision that you made to go with these kind of yeah, yeah, just more gentle fantasies, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the fact that it's a younger protagonist. He's 14 years old. He's just beginning to sort of come into his sexuality, and I think there's a bit of innocence and naivete to his fantasies. But I think
Yeah.
more importantly, I mean, I think what he's really craving is like intimacy and a sense of comfort with a imaginary boyfriend figure. And so like those fantasies are leaning more sort of tender, and it was fun to lean into that and to lean into the sort of like the fantasy of me and my boyfriend on a trip together, or my boyfriend giving me a massage at the end of a long day, like
Mhm.
more those kinds of fantasies, which is like almost like more like domestic. But I remember feeling that way at that
Mhm.
age of like just craving the idea so badly of a partner in the first place, and it feeling like something that was very far off.
Yeah. Well, I think that was another thing that I appreciated about this movie is that it's very specific to a queer experience because there are so many questioning elements, but it's super broad to just anybody who's had a crush. And how
Right.
did you kind of thread that needle as a writer and director?
I mean, a lot of it was just trying to stay as specific to the experiences that I had had and the conversations I had had with other queer people about crushes we had growing up. And I think like incorporating a lot of different ideas and moments, not only from my own life, but from the actors' lives and from our cinematographer's life, producer, like just being as open to those sort of like those little moments where the moments of like yearning and like desire and lust and like trying to fill the movie up with that as much as possible and make it feel really like lived in. Like for
Mhm.
example, the moment where like Jamie clocks Dan's arm when Dan like puts his arm around the passenger seat in the car to back up. That was a suggestion from our cinematographer who was like, Jamie should look at that because that's something that like I would have clocked as a kid. And I was like, you're so right. Like
Mhm.
that thing. And so hopefully it's like when you see little moments like that, it's evocative and it takes you back to a place of your own first crush. I think regardless of your sexuality, it's just in trying to be hyper specific about the way that like desire can like wake up in a young person. Hopefully it's just like anybody can see themselves in that.
Yeah, I think you can. Yeah. I also really appreciated how body positive this movie is.
Yeah.
Like Jamie's most antagonistic relationship is obviously with Will, but even there, it's not like his weight is weaponized against him. And I really appreciate that. Can you talk about, the decision to go in that direction and how you kind of, yeah, did that, I guess.
Yeah, I think I always knew that I wanted the weight part of the story to be a little bit more subtextual, even though the movie is
Yeah.
called Spoilers. I didn't want it to be something that was like a like super like we were like watching something super traumatizing happen to Jamie around his weight, but I did want it to be just baked into the experience of like, and I think a lot of this is a testament to Isaac Krasner, who plays Jamie. The way that he carries himself in the movie, I think that Isaac made it clear that Jamie feels self-conscious about his body and wears a shirt when he's swimming. He's always like tugging at his shirt whenever it's sort of riding up. Like there's just like a feeling of like the way that he carries himself, it has so much to do with a sense of self-consciousness. And I think that if you're just, if you're watching the movie and you're paying attention to that, you're picking up on the signs of like, yeah, a lot of that probably does come from being a big guy and being big for his age and bigger than his peers. And that he would see in subtle ways the way that Dan, his crush, carries himself with a lot more confidence and some swagger and like is very unapologetic about his body. And I think that in subtle ways, you're like watching Jamie pick up on that kind of body language and that way of carrying himself and being inspired by it and sort of seeing a role model. It's sort of like a thing of like, I both want to be with Dan, but I also kind of want to be Dan.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so, yeah, hopefully that those things are all sort of percolating under the surface of the movie.
Yeah, because you see that at the end when he and Will go swimming at the lake the final time. That's like the
Yeah,
first time he takes his shirt off. And I love that he goes in and, yeah, like feels more comfortable. Even I think just after the hike and everything, that really,
right,
yeah, yeah. No, I love
right,
that.
right.
Yeah. I also just love how funny this movie is. One of my personal favorite moments is Jamie making his list because I guess he couldn't do a BuzzFeed
Oh,
Am I Gay list, quiz. So but like, yeah, just what were some of your favorite moments to like write through the
oh
humor? Because
yeah.
it was a funny movie too. I love that about it.
Oh, good. It is really funny you say that because my first idea for that scene was him literally Googling like how to be straight again. So you're right that that's certainly the subtext there. Um, yeah, I think I really loved writing stuff between him and his brother because it was just so fun to draw on some of the experiences I had with my older brother and just the kind of banter we had back and forth and the sort of just like vicious sense of humor of it all. I loved anything where like Jamie was like really putting himself out there in an effort to get Dan's approval. And it would just fall flat, or he would totally read the room wrong, like when he's trying to talk to Dan and Allie through the tent at night, and he's just like lingering around too long, and there's just like a lack of self-awareness. I just loved that stuff because I always love when somebody is like just like putting like you feel they are sweating, like they're putting so much effort into coming off a certain way or
Right.
impressing somebody and it's not working. It's just something I can relate to. So it's fun to work on.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say this movie like gave me a lot of feelings of like watching eighth grade.
Mm.
I don't know if that was any kind of
It's a
like
huge influence
inspiration.
on.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
Like what other kind of films? Because that was the one that like it most felt like to me. Just
that's super cool. Yeah. I'm so glad to hear that. Yeah, that was like such a big reference for the tone and the sense of humor. Um, there's another, I mean, the shows Pen 15 and Freaks and
mhm.
Geeks were also like really big influences. Again, just like they're just so brutally honest, but also very compassionate towards their characters, and their sense of humor so comes from just like the specificity of the characters and how well observed the performances are.
Mhm.
And I mean, I really love like movies like Boyhood, movies like there's another movie called The Return about these two brothers who go on a camping trip with their father, and they're just like really naturalistic like slice of life movies that I feel like are like pay attention to a lot of small details and really just take people as they are. And that was like a very inspiring movie. Like, I really wanted to make something that felt as realistic and natural as possible. um and so those were all just great examples of that kind of thing done so well.
Yeah, yeah. It was funny that you mentioned yearning earlier because that the final shot of the movie where he's looking at the shirt was just oh gosh, it was such a gut punch there. Like I cried. So can you just talk about, yeah, like Isaac's performance there and your direction and kind of like how that scene came together because it's so beautiful. Like it was just no, yeah, lovely.
Oh, great. I mean, a lot of that again is a testament to him. I mean, he's literally standing in a silent room looking at
Mhm.
a bloody t-shirt. And so I think a lot of it was just like giving the space and time for him to just go through a sort of like internal acting experience, like him just sort of because he's so expressive and you can
Yeah.
so read his thoughts. And that was one of the last couple days of shooting. So by that point, I think that it was just very clear to me that it's like if you give Isaac a pretty simple prompt and just let him run with it, you're just going to get great stuff. And like while we were running that take, I would throw out a couple things here and there, like now picture this, now think about this. And it was cool to see some of the subtle differences, but yeah, I think he gave us a lot of beautiful options. And
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
like I said, that was just gorgeous. But the preceding scene, like right prior to that, where he's in the car, that again, that was just so, I loved how kind it was. I think that was kind of the thread I felt through this whole movie was just the like kindness of it. And like, yeah, I guess can you talk just about writing that and yeah, like how you tapped into that because there's so much anger just in the world and it's just
Sure.
nice to experience something that yeah is just kind and sweet so yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I love movies that are very like life affirming in a subtle way. Like movies that like are just I think like you can tell like the filmmakers really love people
Mm-hmm.
and just like believe in people's ability to be kind to and connect with one another, and but also present it in it's not like rose tinted glasses. Like it feels like there's a sense of like understanding of like how the world can be full of just like bittersweet experiences. And I really just wanted to infuse the movie with as much of that as possible, which is like it is hard. Like still at a hard point in his life. He's still got a long way to go, but to still give enough of like a sense of like hope by the end of
Mm-hmm.
the movie and growth on his part, and to feel that like I think to encourage people that might be holding a similar secret to him, like people that are of course closeted, but also anybody that feels ashamed of the way that they feel about anything or towards someone else, and like
Mm-hmm.
hopefully encourage them to be honest about the way that they feel. Because in my life, being honest with people has always been just like so tremendously healing. And I've been lucky to know a lot of kind people in my life that I feel like embraced me. And I would hope that somebody watching the movie would walk away with that same feeling of, I guess, faith in humanity and people's ability to be kind and take them as they are.
Yeah, because it definitely didn't cross into like some kind of saccharine situation. It yeah, there was just kindness in it and I loved that. Yeah. Yeah, so what kind of do you have on the horizon going forward? I mean, this movie is obviously lovely and everything, but what are you looking forward to? Yeah, past this.
Yeah. The movie really just came out on VOD, so I'm just looking forward to hearing more people's reactions, to spreading it around, because there's lots of people who weren't able to make the film festival screenings that have been
Right.
interested in the movie for a long time. So just spreading around them, like showing it to more younger audiences, hopefully partnering up with like Listen and Glad, and just getting the movie out into people like the Jamies of the world
Yeah.
who will hopefully see the movie and feel heartened and encouraged and seen by it. And then, I'm looking forward to just like continuing to make feature films, and ideally ones that are sort of have like a similar sort of like comedic, bittersweet sort of slice of life tone to Big Boys, and also examine parts of like the queer experience and also just like the chubby experience that like I haven't seen on screen before, because that is always very exciting to me to try to do something that I feel like I've always wanted to see but still haven't seen,
Mm-hmm.
and you know give put my best effort into to representing some experience that I feel like I've had that other people have had that hasn't been represented before, and put it on screen in as enjoyable and like dignified of a way as possible.
Yeah, I think one of the things I also kind of thought was interesting about this film is that at the end with Jamie, I didn't feel like there was a definitive answer about his orientation. Was that like
Hmm.
was that a like choice that you made, or is that just like my take on it? Or yeah.
Yeah, I think that that was more a factor of not wanting to just do a full on like coming out like a this is my identity moment, and
Mm-hmm.
more focus on the step towards admitting that you're even having these feelings at all and getting them off your chest and talking to someone who, because sometimes when you really, I mean, it's obvious, but like when you really desire someone, they can become really intimidating to you and larger than life. And I like the idea of ending the movie where Jamie reduces, like he gets past that and he sees like actually we can just be equals and we can have a sort of mutual respect and honesty with one another. And that was like the most important thing. And the idea of just like not being ashamed of his desire anymore, regardless of what sexuality, what sexual like identity he ends up having later in life. It's more just like the fact that I have this desire for you in the first place. By the end of the movie, he feels like it's okay and that's okay to talk about. And I don't want to live the rest of my life acting like that's not happening.
Right. Yeah, excellent. Well, thank you, yeah, for just taking time to talk to me today. I look forward to sharing this with the readers here. And yeah, this is a beautiful movie and congratulations. I wish you all the success with it.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed talking to you. It's
Yeah,
seriously really thoughtful questions. So
thank you.
thank you
I
for,
appreciate that.
yeah.
All right. Well, have a lovely evening or afternoon, I guess, where you are. And
Yeah, you
yeah.
too.
All right. Take care. Have a great day.
Okay. Bye-bye.